You've been taught a lie your whole life. Not a harmless one, but the kind that quietly poisons you. The lie says, if you're good, you'll be rewarded. Be kind. Be patient. Stay humble. Work hard. Keep your heart pure, and life will notice. But life doesn't notice. Life isn't watching you, hoping to give you a medal. Life is watching you the way a predator watches its prey, measuring how easy you are to catch. How many times have you tried to be the good one, only to be ignored? How many times have you kept the peace, only to be disrespected? How many times have you held on to your principles and watched the cunning rise above you with a smile? You tell yourself you're doing the right thing, that someday people will appreciate you. But deep down you know they won't. Because the world doesn't reward goodness. It rewards awareness. It rewards those who see the game and play it better. That's what Machiavelli understood. And it's the truth most people will never say out loud. They think silence is about politeness. They think it's weakness. But silence is a weapon. Not the kind you use in desperation. The kind you keep until the exact moment it's needed. Picture this. Someone tries to provoke you. They expect the usual anger, defense, an emotional reaction they can feed on. Instead, nothing. Your eyes stay calm. Your breathing doesn't change. The air between you and them grows heavier, not with words, but with presence. And here's the thing. The first one to break that silence loses. Because the second they speak, they've revealed something. They've shown the crack in their armor. They've told you exactly where to strike. Most people never master this. They can't stand the discomfort. They rush to fill the void, not realizing that void is where power grows. Think about it. In a negotiation, who controls the room? The one explaining themselves? Or the one listening, waiting, letting the other person wonder? If you can learn to hold that tension, to carry yourself with the calm weight of someone who owes no one an explanation, you stop being forgettable. You stop being safe. You become unshakable. And the moment you reach that point, you'll notice something strange. People will start leaning in, not because you've begged for their attention, but because they can't predict you. They can't read you. And in a world addicted to certainty, unpredictability is magnetic. The question is, when was the last time you held your silence long enough to let someone else break? They will always test you. Not once, not twice. Over and over until you prove you won't bend. It's not because they hate you. It's because human nature is wired to push, to see how far they can go before you push back. Some do it openly, raising their voice, challenging you in front of others. Others do it quietly, small comments, tiny cuts that don't bleed much at first. But left unchecked, they'll keep slicing until you're hollow. Most people fail these tests without even realizing it. They give small explanations. They defend tiny accusations. They try to clear things up. And each time they do, they lose a little ground. You think you're fixing the problem, but what you're really doing is teaching them exactly how to control you. Watch how it works. A coworker questions your decision in a meeting. You explain your reasoning. They interrupt, add doubt, push for more details. You keep answering, thinking logic will win. It won't, because the moment you're defending, you've already stepped into their frame. And the one who sets the frame controls the outcome. This is why Machiavelli warned against defending yourself unnecessarily. It's not about pride. It's about positioning. If you're on defense, you've already lost half the battle. Not because your arguments are weak, but because the dynamic has shifted. You're reacting to them instead of making them react to you. Silence in these moments isn't about passivity. It's about holding the center. It's about refusing to play the game on their terms. Ask yourself, what happens when you refuse to explain? At first, they may think you're avoiding the question. Then, they start to wonder why. Doubt creeps in not about you, but about themselves. They wonder if they've overstepped. They start talking more, trying to fill the space, and in doing so, they reveal more than they intended. This is the beauty of controlled silence. You're not just avoiding a trap, you're building one. Picture a negotiation. The other side makes an offer. You say nothing. 5 seconds pass. 10, 15. In their mind, the silence becomes unbearable. They start sweetening the deal, adding value, lowering their ask, all to break the tension. And you haven't moved an inch. That's how power works. Not always with force, but with weight. And weight doesn't shout. Weight doesn't rush. It simply exists and makes everything else move around it. Now imagine applying this to your personal life. A friend takes advantage of your generosity. You've lent money, time, energy, always saying yes. Then one day, you stop responding immediately. You don't explain. You don't justify. The calls get shorter. The favors stop. At first, they might get angry. Then they might try to win you back. But deep down, they realize something. The leverage they had over you is gone. This shift is addictive. Once you feel the difference between defending yourself and holding your ground, you won't go back. Because you'll see how often people's power over you was built entirely on your willingness to explain yourself. But this skill requires one thing most people don't have: the ability to sit in discomfort. Silence is uncomfortable for them and for you. And that's why it works. The side that breaks first loses. So, you train yourself to hold it. You resist the urge to fill the air with words, just to make things normal again. Because normal isn't where power lives. Here's a challenge for you. Next time someone challenges you, big or small, resist the urge to explain. Look at them. Wait. Watch what happens. You'll be surprised how quickly the energy shifts. And in that shift, something else happens. They start respecting you. Not because you've convinced them you're right, but because you've shown them you don't need their approval to stand where you stand. That's the moment you stop playing their game and start making them play yours. The truth is, most people are addicted to the sound of their own defense. They think talking proves strength, but in power, the opposite is true. The less you say, the more they imagine. And their imagination will always make you bigger, sharper, more dangerous than anything you could have explained. So the next time you feel the urge to justify yourself, remember, every word you give away is a piece of your position. Keep enough of those pieces, and you stop being a player in their story. You become the one writing it. And when you're the one writing the story, you decide who wins. There's a reason most people never hold their silence long enough to gain power from it. It's not just because it's uncomfortable. It's because they've been trained since childhood that explaining yourself is the right thing to do. From the moment you could speak, someone told you, use your words. Tell me why you did that. Say you're sorry. And over time, that training became instinct. You learned that silence meant guilt. That holding back meant you had something to hide. So you started talking, even when you didn't need to. Especially when you didn't need to. Now, imagine reversing that training. Imagine rewiring yourself so that silence no longer feels like weakness, but like a coiled spring. Imagine treating every pause not as a void to fill, but as a space that bends the other person toward you. This is the reversal that separates the common from the powerful. And it's why Machiavelli's greatest students, whether kings, generals, or CEOs, understood one truth: control the frame, and you control the outcome. And the fastest way to seize the frame is to stop fighting inside theirs. Think about an argument you've had recently. Did you win by explaining more? Or did you win in the moment they had no answer? Most people talk themselves out of victory. They land a sharp point, then they keep talking. They soften it. They over-explain it. And by the end, the impact is gone. A silent point, on the other hand, hangs in the air like smoke. It lingers. It wraps itself around their thoughts. And the more they try to brush it away, the stronger it sticks. Here's the hard part. When you first start practicing this, you'll feel exposed. You'll feel like everyone is staring at you, waiting for a response. And that's exactly where your advantage begins. Because the human brain hates uncertainty. It hates unanswered questions. When you stay quiet, you create a vacuum. And nature hates a vacuum. They will rush to fill it. And in their rush, they will give away far more than they planned. This is why great negotiators rarely speak first. Why great leaders let silence hang before they give orders. Why the most dangerous person in any room is often the one saying the least. Silence makes you a mirror. People will project onto you whatever they most fear or most desire. Some will see you as confident. Others will see you as mysterious. A few will see you as dangerous. And all of them will treat you differently because of it. But here's where it gets deeper. Silence isn't just a tool for moments of conflict. It's a way of shaping your entire presence. Watch how the world reacts to someone who doesn't rush to be known. At first, people are curious. Then they're intrigued. Then they're drawn in. Because every other person they meet is busy selling themselves, proving themselves. And here you are, simply existing, unbothered. It's magnetic. Not because you're withholding for the sake of it, but because you've chosen to let your value be felt, not shouted. And that's when the rules start bending in your favor. Meetings slow down for you. Conversations adjust to your pace. People repeat themselves just to be sure you heard. They watch your reactions more closely. And in their effort to read you, they reveal themselves. The world will never tell you this truth openly. Power isn't always about what you add. Sometimes it's about what you refuse to give. So here's the question that will tell you how far you've come. When someone demands an answer, can you look them in the eye, say nothing, and feel no need to fill the space? If you can, you're already playing a game most people don't even know exists. If you can't yet, you're still on the board as a piece, not the player. And the player knows every silence is a move. Every pause is pressure. And every word you don't say is a weapon they can't see coming. They'll tell you that speaking up is the only way to claim space. They'll tell you that if you don't voice your thoughts, you'll be forgotten. And they're right if you live like everyone else. But if you live like that, you'll also be replaceable. The truth? The people remembered the longest are not always the loudest. They're the ones whose words are rare, but land like a hammer. Machiavelli understood this. In a court full of flatterers, he knew the most dangerous man was the one who spoke only when the room had already fallen silent. Because by then, every ear was ready to listen. Every heart was ready to react. And every mind was already leaning toward agreement. The secret isn't to say more. It's to make your words cost more. And scarcity is the fastest way to raise value. Imagine a man who talks constantly, always offering opinions, always available, always reacting. Within weeks, people stop hearing him. He's background noise. Now imagine another man who listens, watches, and speaks only when something truly needs to be said. When his voice cuts through the air, it's sharp. It's measured. And people remember it days later. That's not by accident. That's design. In power, design matters more than effort. Effort is throwing words at every wall, hoping one sticks. Design is placing one sentence so precisely that the wall itself has to move. But to do this, you have to detach from the need to be understood in the moment. Most people crumble here. They want immediate validation. They want the nod, the smile, the "I get you." They can't stand the idea that their meaning might sit in silence before it's seen. This is why they talk too much, why they explain, why they oversell, and why they give away every advantage they had before they opened their mouth. The powerful are patient. They know that sometimes the impact of a sentence isn't felt in the room. It's felt days later, when the other person finally realizes what was meant. Think of it like planting a seed. If you dig it up every 5 minutes to see if it's growing, you kill it. Your words are the same. Plant them, leave them, and let them do their work unseen. This is especially true in moments of conflict. If someone attacks you, the most tempting move is to defend yourself right away, to fire back with proof, logic, and righteous anger. But when you do that, you tell them exactly how to keep you on the defensive. You reveal what matters to you. You reveal where you're vulnerable. Now picture this instead. They accuse you. You look at them. You let the silence stretch. No defense. No argument. Just the weight of your presence. It's unbearable for them, because now they have to fill it. And in filling it, they'll tell you far more than you could have forced out of them with words. This is not passive. It's not avoidance. It's pressure. Controlled, deliberate, and dangerous. But there's another layer. Silence doesn't just protect you from losing position. It actively builds your position. Every time you resist the urge to explain, you create a new frame, one where your value is assumed, your authority is unshaken, and the burden of proof lies on them, not you. In this frame, even your smallest movements carry meaning. A nod, a raised eyebrow, a pause before speaking. They all become amplified because people are starved for your reaction. That's the paradox. The less you give, the more they crave. So when you finally decide to speak, it feels like a reward. And rewards are remembered. They're repeated. They're shared. Your words travel further because they're rare. And in a world drowning in noise, rarity is power. But remember, this only works if your silence is full, not empty. Empty silence is just absence. Full silence is presence without speech. It's the eye contact that doesn't break, the posture that doesn't shift, the energy that says, "I'm here, I'm listening, and I'm not moving for you." That's what unsettles people. That's what makes them start explaining themselves to you. And the moment they do, the balance shifts. You've gone from defending to commanding without a single word. The question is, can you hold that line when it matters most? Because the ones who can are the ones everyone else ends up following. They will try to bait you, not always with insults, sometimes with kindness, sometimes with opportunities that look too good to ignore. And every bait has the same purpose: to make you act before you think, to make you speak before you choose, to make you explain before you understand the game you've just stepped into. This is where most people lose. They think the test is obvious: a direct challenge, a public embarrassment, an open fight. But the real test is subtle. It's the moment you're handed a stage, and you forget that stepping on it means stepping into someone else's frame. Machiavelli warned about this in his own way. Never fight on the ground your enemy chooses, because the ground itself is a weapon. And when they choose it, they've already decided how the fight will go. Silence is how you refuse the bait. It's how you decline the ground they offer. Not by saying, "I don't accept," but by making them wonder if you've even noticed the bait at all. Picture this. You're in a meeting. Someone says, "Why don't you share your thoughts on this?" Everyone turns to you. The average person jumps in, eager to show they're engaged. eager to prove value. But you pause. You let the moment stretch just long enough for them to lean in. And then you say only what needs to be said. No more, no less. It's sharp, it's clean, and it leaves the impression that you see more than you speak. That impression is priceless, because it plants a seed. If they said that little, what are they holding back? And now, they can't stop thinking about it. This is one of the paradoxes of power. The less you show, the more they assume. And assumption is always louder in their mind than anything you could have said. But this isn't about playing mysterious for the sake of it. It's about knowing the value of your position. Every time you explain yourself unnecessarily, you sell a piece of that position for cheap. And the world will always buy at the lowest price you're willing to offer. So you raise the price. Not with arrogance, not with ego, but with discipline. You decide when, where, and how you will speak. And when you do, it's worth hearing. Here's the challenge. Most people think discipline is about what you do. But in power, discipline is about what you don't do, what you don't reveal, what you don't react to, what you don't let pull you off balance. This is why the ability to wait to let the silence breathe is one of the most underused skills in human interaction. Because silence doesn't just protect you from saying the wrong thing, it forces them to fill the space with things they didn't mean to say. You've seen it before. Two people argue. One listens, barely speaking. The other keeps talking, keeps pushing, until they reveal exactly what's on their mind, exactly what they fear, exactly where they're vulnerable. That's not luck. That's pressure. That's the weight of silence doing what no argument could do. And it works outside conflict too. In attraction, in negotiation, in leadership. When you speak less, people study you more. They measure their words more carefully around you. They try harder to impress you. And that extra effort shifts the balance in your favor without you lifting a finger. Think of the last time you were around someone who didn't rush to fill every pause. Didn't you find yourself leaning in, trying to read them, trying to make them speak? That's not an accident. It's a psychological loop. The less they give, the more you seek. Now imagine being able to create that loop on purpose. Not as a trick, but as a default way of existing. Every interaction becomes tilted in your favor. Every conversation becomes a chance for them to reveal more, while you reveal only what serves you. But here's the warning. Silence without substance is emptiness. You can't just speak less and expect respect. You have to carry the weight that makes your silence feel intentional. That means presence. That means awareness. That means knowing what's happening in the room without having to say a word about it. Presence is what makes silence full. Without it, you're just absent. With it, you're unforgettable. And when you master that balance, when you can be fully present without needing to constantly prove it, you step into a kind of power that's almost impossible to challenge, because no one can fight what they can't predict. And no one can win against someone who refuses to play on their terms. That's the position you want. Not louder, not faster, but heavier. So heavy, the room bends around you. So heavy, every word you drop hits like stone in still water. Ripples spreading long after you've gone. There comes a moment in every power game when someone tries to pull you into chaos. Not with noise, but with emotion. They'll try to make you react not because they need your reaction, but because your reaction feeds them. And here's the truth no one admits. Emotion is the most effective leash ever invented. If they can make you angry, they own your focus. If they can make you desperate, they own your choices. If they can make you eager, they own your future. That's why silence isn't just the absence of words. It's the absence of emotional surrender. It's a refusal to hand over the steering wheel. Think about the last time you were provoked. Maybe it was a personal insult. Maybe it was a subtle dig that no one else caught. Maybe it was an opportunity dangled in front of you, but with strings you couldn't quite see. What did you do? Did you bite back? Did you defend yourself? Did you rush in to prove something? Because if you did, you gave them what they came for. You confirmed you were reachable. You confirmed you could be moved. And once someone knows they can move you, they'll keep moving you until you end up somewhere you never intended to be. Machiavelli knew this well. In politics, in war, in human dealings, the one who controls the emotional climate controls the outcome. And in any climate, silence is the weather you can set on demand. When you're silent in the face of emotional bait, you do more than protect yourself. You reverse the pressure, because now they're the ones waiting. They're the ones wondering. They're the ones feeling the heat of uncertainty. And uncertainty makes people talk. It makes them explain. It makes them confess without realizing they're confessing. That's when they give you what you need. Their strategy, their fear, their weakness, served to you in their own words. But let's go deeper. Silence isn't just for defense, it's an offensive weapon. When you withhold reaction, you force the other person to live inside their own move longer than they want to. You make them replay it, question it, doubt it. And in that doubt, cracks appear. They might overcompensate, trying to get more out of you. They might push harder, revealing even more than before. Or they might retreat, realizing they can't reach you without bleeding themselves dry. Here's what most people miss. True composure doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you act as if you feel nothing, long enough for the feeling to lose its grip on you. That's the discipline. Not erasing your emotions, but refusing to let them dictate your move. Think of a seasoned negotiator. They hear an offer. Inside, they might be thrilled. But on the surface, nothing changes. Why? Because showing excitement raises the other side's price. It gives them leverage. And once given, leverage is almost impossible to take back. The same rule applies in every interaction. Show eagerness too soon, and you've already paid more than you needed to. Show anger too soon, and you've already given away the target they should hit again. Silence fixes both problems. It's the pause between stimulus and response. The space where you can decide not react. And the longer you can hold that space, the more dangerous you become. But here's where it turns cold. In a world where everyone is trained to overshare, the one who withholds becomes the mystery. And mystery is the most expensive currency in human attention. People pay for mystery with their time, with their questions, with their loyalty, sometimes even with their fear, because not knowing forces them to imagine. And what they imagine is often more powerful than anything you could have told them. This is why the greatest players in history, from statesmen to seducers, never let the other side see the full hand. They let glimpses slip, just enough to keep interest alive, never enough to be predictable. In your own life, this means learning when to speak and when to let the silence carry your weight for you. It means letting people work harder to earn your words. It means creating a rhythm where your voice is the drop everyone waits for, not the noise they tune out. That rhythm can't be faked. It has to be trained. Every pause, every withheld reaction, every unspoken thought, it's all practice for the moments that count. And when those moments come, you won't just be calm, you'll be unreadable. Unreadable people are dangerous, because when no one knows your next move, no one can prepare for it. And in the game of power, preparation is everything. So the next time you feel the urge to react, ask yourself, who benefits if I speak now? Who loses if I don't? If the answer is, they benefit or I lose, hold your tongue. Let the silence work, and watch what comes out of it. Because silence held long enough, becomes more than absence. It becomes a mirror. And the things people reveal in that mirror are often the very keys to their undoing. Some people think silence is passive. They think it's nothing. But silence is never nothing. It's a signal. And the person in front of you will decide what it means, based on their own fear, their own desire, their own insecurity. That's why it's dangerous. Not because of what it is, but because of what it makes them do. You've probably noticed this. When someone doesn't respond right away, your mind starts building stories. Why aren't they answering? What are they thinking? What does this mean? That's human nature. And the more you understand that nature, the more you can use it. When you remove your voice from a moment, you create an empty frame. And in that empty frame, people paint their own picture of you. Some will imagine you as calm and confident. Others will imagine you as calculating and dangerous. Either way, it's their story, not yours. And people always believe their own story more than the truth. This is where the Machiavellian advantage comes in. You don't tell them what to think. You let them do it themselves. Because when they create the narrative, you don't have to fight to convince them. They've already convinced themselves. But here's the subtle art. You don't just disappear completely. You let small details leak out. A glance, a shift in your posture, a single carefully chosen word. Enough to guide their imagination without ever closing it. It's the same tactic great chess players use. They let you see one piece, but never the move that follows. And because you're guessing, you slow down. You hesitate. You play more cautiously than you need to. In conversation, that hesitation is gold. It makes them talk more. It makes them over-explain. And in that extra space, you collect information they never planned to give you. Think about power not as force, but as gravity. Gravity doesn't chase. It doesn't explain itself. It simply exists, and everything else adjusts around it. That's the kind of presence you want. Not chasing, not convincing, just being so certain in yourself that others feel the need to orbit you. You've seen this in leaders. They're not the ones yelling. They're not the ones filling the air with endless speeches. They speak briefly, and the room falls quiet. They enter, and the conversation shifts without a word. That's not charismate's control. And control starts with not giving away what's inside your head. Here's the hook most people miss. Silence doesn't just protect you from being read. It forces people to try and read you. And the harder they try, the more of themselves they reveal. That's why every second you hold your tongue is a second they write the script for you. You can't buy that kind of leverage. You can only earn it through discipline. But let's not pretend this is easy. Your instincts will scream at you to break the pause, to fill the space, to make it less uncomfortable. And that's exactly why most people fail. They confuse discomfort with danger. They think if they're not talking, they're losing. In reality, the moment you feel that urge to speak is often the moment you're about to win. If you can hold it just a little longer. It's like watching someone try to open a locked door. The longer it stays closed, the more desperate they get. The more desperate they get, the more reckless their moves become. Until finally, they give themselves away. And here's the cold truth. Sometimes silence doesn't just expose people. It breaks them. Not with cruelty, but with their own inability to sit with uncertainty. If you want to see this in action, think of a high-stakes interview. The interviewer asks a question, then waits. They don't nod. They don't smile. They just wait. Most candidates rush to fill the air. They start talking too much, adding details they didn't need to share, weakening their own position. Now imagine you're the one in control. You're the one creating that silence. You're the one making them feel the weight of every word they choose. That's not passive. That's pressure without lifting a finger. But the true mastery comes when you can mix this stillness with moments of sudden, decisive action. Because unpredictability is not just about withholding, it's about breaking pattern. Silence, then a sharp, deliberate move. Calm, then a strike. That's when people stop trying to figure you out and start adapting to you instead. And once they're adapting to you, the game is already over. Because whoever sets the rhythm controls the dance. So here's the question you need to ask yourself. How often are you letting them set the rhythm? How often are you reacting to their moves, instead of making them react to yours? Because if the answer is too often, then you're not in control. You're just dancing to someone else's music. And in the Machiavellian view, that's the first step toward losing everything. There's a move most people never see coming. Not because it's complicated, but because it's too simple for them to believe it works. You don't fight. You don't explain. You don't even say no. You just delay. Delays are underestimated. People think of them as stalling, but in the game of power, delay is a way to raise your value. Imagine this. Someone demands an answer from you. They want it now. They press harder. And instead of rushing to please them, you say, "I'll think about it." Not with hesitation, but with calm certainty. It drives them insane. Because now they're not just waiting for your answer. They're wondering what's making you hesitate. They're wondering what you might know that they don't. And in that space, their own mind becomes your greatest weapon. They'll start imagining scenarios. They'll overanalyze every past interaction. They'll replay conversations in their head, searching for clues they'll never find. Here's the Machiavellian truth. The longer someone waits for you, the more they value your time. And the more they value your time, the more they'll adjust themselves to keep it. This is the opposite of what most people do. Most people, when pressured, want to answer quickly, to prove they're cooperative. But cooperation without calculation is weakness. It teaches others that your time belongs to them, that your pace can be dictated. And once you give someone the right to dictate your pace, you've already surrendered half the battle. Think of a high-level negotiation. One side makes an offer. The other side doesn't say yes or no. They take the offer away. They let it sit. Days pass. The first side starts to sweat. They adjust their terms, sweeten the deal, all to win back a response that hasn't even been given yet. That's the leverage of delay. And you can use it in any part of life, from business to relationships to everyday conversations. But here's where it gets even colder. You don't just delay for leverage. You delay to observe. Because the longer you take to answer, the more the other person reveals in their attempt to sway you. They'll show their real priorities. They'll give away their limits. They might even expose their desperation. And desperation is a scent you can follow straight to control. But make no mistake, this only works if you do it with complete composure. If your delay looks like fear, you've lost the effect. If it looks like indecision, you've weakened your position. It has to look intentional, measured, inevitable, like the pause of a master before the final move. And here's the secret. You don't need to be thinking during that pause. You just need to be making them think. Because in this game, whoever spends more mental energy on the other person is the one being controlled. But there's another layer to this. Delaying your response isn't just a tactic for others. It's a tactic for yourself. Because when you delay, you give yourself the one thing most people lack: space to choose. You're no longer a slave to the first emotion that hits you. You're no longer trapped in the urgency of the moment. You can see the board more clearly. And the clearer you see the board, the more precise your move becomes. It's like stepping out of a storm to watch it from above. Down in the chaos, Every second feels like life or death. From above, you can see where the storm ends and where the openings are. So the next time someone demands a quick decision, ask yourself, do they want speed because it benefits them, or because it benefits you? If the answer isn't you, don't move. Don't rush. Make them wait. And while they wait, watch what they do. Do they get louder? Do they get softer? Do they offer more? Do they reveal less? Every shift is information, and information is the real currency of power. The best part? Once you master the art of delay, you'll notice that people start treating your yes and no like rare treasures. Not because you're unpredictable in a chaotic way, but because you've taught them your words are deliberate and therefore worth more. This is how kings negotiated without lifting a sword. This is how generals won wars before the first battle. They controlled the pace. And the one who controls the pace controls the game. So when they push for speed, give them stillness. When they push for answers, give them questions. And when they push for certainty, give them time. Time that belongs only to you. Because time, once given away, can never be taken back. Control isn't just about what you say. It's about when you say it. And more importantly, how fast or slow you let the game unfold. Most people don't think about pace. They react at the speed they're provoked. If someone pushes, they push back. If someone hurries, they rush. And in doing so, they hand over control without realizing it. The one who controls the pace controls the frame, and the frame controls the outcome. Think about a negotiation. It's not always the strongest argument that wins. It's the rhythm. Push too fast, and you make mistakes. Go too slow, and the other person gets bored, disengages. The real mastery is in setting a tempo that serves you, not them. Imagine you're in a conversation, and the other person is trying to pull you into their urgency. They lean forward. They speed up their words. They inject pressure into the air. Most people match that energy instantly. You don't. You slow down. You breathe deeper. You keep your sentences measured. Suddenly, their rhythm is colliding with yours. And without saying it out loud, you've told them, "We move at my speed here." They may not admit it, but they'll feel it. They'll adjust to you, because rhythm is contagious. In war, great generals knew this. Sometimes they'd advance slowly, not because they lacked the ability to move faster, but because each step drew the enemy deeper into their trap. Other times, they'd move with lightning speed, breaking the opponent's sense of timing entirely. Both approaches are about pace, and the one who decides the pace decides when the strike lands. In the realm of power, pace is pressure. It's the difference between making someone dance to your music or dancing to theirs. You've seen this in social situations. The person who talks a little slower, who leaves just enough space between words, forces everyone else to lean in. They're not rushing to be heard. They make others work to catch their meaning. That work makes the meaning feel heavier. Now picture the opposite. Someone is speaking rapidly, tripping over their words, filling every pause with noise. Even if what they're saying is valuable, it loses weight, because urgency without intention feels like desperation. That's why Machiavelli valued composure above all. Not stillness for its own sake, but stillness that could be shattered in an instant, when the time was perfect. Because here's the hook. If you always move slow, they adapt to slow. If you always move fast, they adapt to fast. The real weapon is the shift, the ability to change pace so suddenly, it knocks them off balance. This is why a skilled operator can sit silent for half a meeting, then speak for 60 seconds and change the entire outcome. The silence made the words heavier. The slow build made the strike land harder. Think of it like a heartbeat. Too slow for too long, and it fades. Too fast for too long, and it burns out. But when the rhythm changes, you feel it. It forces you to adjust. And every time they adjust to you, you've taken more control. You can practice this in the smallest ways. If you're asked a question, pause just long enough to make them wait, but not so long that it breaks the flow. If you're telling a story, speed up at the moment of tension. Then drop your voice. Slow your pace at the moment of impact. This doesn't just keep their attention, it locks it in place. The key is intention. Every shift in pace should feel deliberate. Even if they can't explain why, they should feel you're guiding them somewhere. And when they feel guided, you've already led them where you want. This applies beyond words. In negotiations, you can slow the process to exhaust their patience, then suddenly accelerate to close the deal before they've fully recovered. In relationships, you can create space by pulling back your attention, then reappear with intensity, reminding them of your presence without overexposure. The beauty of pace control is that it's invisible to the untrained eye. They'll know something shifted, but they won't be able to name it. And what can't be named can't be defended against. So here's a question. Are you setting the rhythm in your interactions? Or are you just keeping up with someone else's? Because in the Machiavellian world, keeping up is the same as falling behind. When you control the pace, you decide when pressure builds and when it releases. You decide when tension peaks and when it breaks. You decide how much they reveal before they even realize they've spoken too much. And that is the difference between reacting to the game and quietly winning it. The greatest mistake in power is staying too long. Most people don't know when to leave. They think the goal is to hold the spotlight forever. But the longer you stand in it, the more they get used to you. And once they get used to you, you lose your edge. The Machiavellian knows you leave at the peak, not after, not when it's comfortable, but right when they want more. It's the same in war, in politics, in love. Withdraw at the moment of strength, and they remember you as unshakable. Stay until you're forced out, and they remember you as weak. Think of Caesar. His victories made him untouchable, but he didn't leave the stage. He stayed until envy turned into knives. History doesn't forgive the one who overstays their welcome. Now picture the opposite. A leader who disappears at the height of power. No scandal, no collapse, just gone. They leave a vacuum, and the human mind can't stand a vacuum. They fill it with speculation, with longing, with myth. And myth lasts far longer than presence. This is the art of the ice-cold exit. You don't just walk away, you vanish with precision. In business, it's ending the meeting before energy dips. In negotiation, it's walking out before they've gotten all their answers. In personal life, it's leaving the conversation while it's still burning in their mind. Because here's the truth. If you stay until the energy fades, you take the memory down with you. But if you leave at the high point is what they keep. It's like music. A song that ends right before the final chorus stays in your head for hours. A song that drags too long, you skip. The same law applies to power. You have to be willing to create absence. Absence forces them to replay your presence. Absence turns you into something larger than life. And the larger you become in their mind, the less they realize they're being controlled. Most can't do this. They're addicted to the feeling of being wanted. They think leaving means losing. But the Machiavellian knows, leaving is how you win forever. You see it in elite negotiators. They don't sit in the room until every point is covered. They close the deal, and they walk. They leave the other side slightly unsatisfied, because that dissatisfaction makes them come back. You see it in great seducers. They don't exhaust the mystery by giving everything away. They give just enough. Then they disappear. They let the absence do the seduction for them. And you see it in power itself. When a leader steps down at their peak, their name becomes legend. When they cling to power past their moment, their name becomes a warning. This is why your exit has to be planned from the start. From the moment you enter the room, you should know the moment you'll leave it. Not based on fatigue, not based on boredom, but based on the perfect point of impact. When you leave then, you deny them closure. And without closure, you remain open in their mind. An unfinished thought. A door they can't stop trying to open. And here's the hook. If you've played the earlier strategies right, your absence will speak louder than your presence ever could. They'll notice the space you've left. They'll feel the weight of what's missing. And they'll crave its return. This is the final move. Not a fight. Not a defense. Not even a victory lap. Just the cold precision of knowing when the game is already yours and stepping away before they know how you won. Because in the end, the power you walk away from willingly is the only power they can never take from you. Everything you've heard, every pause, every shift in pace, every silence, wasn't about making you quieter. It was about making you undeniable. Because in a world addicted to noise, the one who can hold their tongue holds the room. The one who can slow the moment owns the moment. And the one who can leave at their peak owns the story they leave behind. Machiavelli understood. Power isn't always in the blow you land. It's in the control you keep before and after. The restraint that makes them wonder. The distance that makes them chase. The absence that makes them remember. Most will never touch this kind of power. They'll chase approval. They'll explain themselves. They'll stay too long. And they'll talk too much. And when they fall, they'll think it was sudden. But the truth is, it started the moment they gave away control. You don't have to play that game. You can be the one who watches longer than you speak. The one who moves slower than they expect. Until you don't. The one who leaves before they think you should. And when you do, you'll see the shift. They'll speak differently to you. They'll measure their words. They'll respect the space you take up and the space you leave behind. This isn't about arrogance. It's about command. The kind that doesn't need to shout. The kind that doesn't need to convince. The kind that simply is and can't be ignored. So the next time you walk into a room, remember, you're not there to blend. You're not there to fill the air. You're there to alter it. And when you've done that, when you've bent the rhythm, when you've made them lean forward just to catch you, leave. Let the silence finish what you started. Because the most Machiavellian victory is the one they can't stop replaying in their mind long after you're gone.